Everybody knows Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. It's a classic game, debatably the best Mario game. But not everybody knows its illegitimate son, Super Mario World, on the NES. If you saw my last video, you know this one isn't very good. But even if you saw my last video, you probably didn't know about Super Mario World on the Game Boy. Now, you might be wondering, is this any better than the NES version? And no, it definitely isn't. Now, for those of you who didn't see my last video or haven't seen any of my videos, you should subscribe if you're new. We're talking about Demakes today, bootleg Demakes to be specific. For those of you who don't know what Demakes are, they're basically remakes of games made for worse or older hardware. That old or worse hardware today we're talking about is the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. No Game Boy Advance though, for now. The first game that I want to talk about today is Super Mario Special 3. This is a port of Super Mario Bros. 3 on the Game Boy Color. It's sort of debatable whether NES games remade on Game Boy would be considered demakes or not, but honestly I would say they are demakes because even though they're both 8-bit Nintendo consoles, the Game Boy is clearly not as powerful as the NES. So yes, this is in fact a demake, at least to me. Alright, so I tried several different emulators and none of them would get this game to run. I did run it once online on some website. I got it to work once, but that was it. After that, I could not get it to run again, and I didn't have it recording. So I'm just showing some footage from YouTube here. That's just what I'll use because I could not get any recording myself of the game. One of the emulators just did this. I never had this happen before on any other game. And another one just made this really terrible sound, and it was so loud I thought I blew my eardrums out, but I'm fine now, so it's all good. But yeah, my knowledge of this game is based on the Bootleg Games wiki, this YouTube video, and the little bit of time that I spent playing it when I tested it one time on that website. Now to the game itself. If you've played Super Mario Bros. DX, which is just the original Super Mario Bros. On the Game Boy Color with slightly more awkward screen scrolling, but a few added features, you'd probably expect something similar with this game. I mean, they're both Mario games, they were both originally on the NES, and now they're both on the Game Boy Color. It makes sense for them to be similar, right? But they're not. This game is god-awful. Everything about it is just terrible. The colors look like bruh. The music sounds like bruh. The controls feel like bruh. Honestly, just everything is bruh. Also, there's only 5 levels, and one of them is totally broken, so it's basically 4 levels. This game is inexcusably bad. In my last video, when I was playing Super Nintendo games on the NES, like Mario World and Street Fighter, they weren't very good, but they all felt pretty impressive, solely based on the fact that they were at least trying to put a much more advanced game on pretty restrictive old hardware. This doesn't feel impressive at all, because we can see in games like Super Mario Bros. DX that the Game Boy Color can in fact run NES quality games on it pretty well, even better than the NES in some ways. Sure, the screen is a lot smaller, some parts of the game can be a little awkward with that, but overall, Super Mario Bros. DX plays pretty great. Super Mario Special 3 doesn't, at all. It just plays like garbage. Oddly enough, the developers of Super Mario Special 3 wanted to milk this game some more, so they released a hack of the game called Pokémon Diamond. Now, I'm not a big Pokémon fan, but even I can tell you that this has absolutely nothing to do with the real Pokémon Diamond. Also, to make this one even better, this game is practically totally unplayable because it starts you on the broken level I mentioned earlier. You just can't finish it. At least it's preventing me from further suffering. And you know what? While I'm at it, I might as well continue with Pokémon Demakes because there's a ton of them, although they're not all exactly what they might seem. And once again, I'm not really a Pokemon guy, so I apologize if I get any of the Pokemon details wrong. The first Pokemon game I'm going to mention is Pokemon Silver. After adding this game to my script, I realized it was already a Game Boy Color game, but I kept it in the video because the translations are so hilariously bad. I mean, look at this stuff. How does this even happen? Imagine being a little kid and getting the new Pokemon game, and it just calls you a drug bag. Bruh. It's just absurd. Next, we've got Pokemon Diamond. Again, hopefully this one is a little better than the last one. Pokemon Diamond was originally for the DS and now is on the Game Boy. Except instead of Diamond and Pearl, we've got Diamond and Jade here. The dude on the cover of Jade isn't looking so good. Also on Diamond, this just isn't the right dude on the cover. Oh, and once again, it's just not the right game either. This is some Japan-exclusive Pokemon ripoff game where you catch monsters in cell phones or something, and once again, the translation is just hilariously bad. Okay, so we already looked at 2 Pokemon Diamonds, and no Pearl because it doesn't seem to exist on the Game Boy, and now we've got Pokemon Platinum, which was originally an enhanced version of Diamond and Pearl, once again on the DS. Hopefully, since both Diamonds were disappointments, this will be better. Nope. Alright, last Pokemon game here. All the others so far have been disappointments. Let's see if we can just get one that actually doesn't lie to me. Pokemon Ruby. This was originally a Game Boy Advance game. If they're gonna actually demake one of them, it's gotta be this one. I mean, that's just one generation ahead of the Game Boy. Come on. I mean, it's gotta be this one. You've gotta be kidding me. You know, I never really liked Pokemon anyway. Mario has never let me down though, except Super Mario Special 3. But now we're looking at Super Mario Sunshine on the Game Boy Color. This will be interesting. Okay, here we go. Actually, that's Donkey Kong. That's still in Donkey Kong. Okay, so this one's actually pretty interesting. Despite not being Super Mario Sunshine at all, it is sort of a Mario game. It was originally a bootleg called Donkey Kong 5, but at some point it was just re-released as Super Mario Sunshine for some reason, even though that's clearly Donkey Kong. But if you actually play the game, you'll see that all of the game's levels are actually just reskins of all of the original Super Mario Bros. Levels. But hey, at least it's better than Super Mario Special 3. Okay, next we've got Mega Man. Now for all of you Mega Man fans out there, you probably already know that Mega Man 1 through 5 was released on the Game Boy, and that they were sort of similar to the NES counterparts. The bootleggers, however, wanted more Mega Man on the go. Also, for those of you who aren't Mega fans, Mega Man was actually called Rockman in Japan, so these games are all actually titled after Rockman. So here's Mega Man X or Rockman X on the Game Boy. This is actually a port of a Famicom bootleg of Mega Man X, but I hadn't heard of it in time for my last video. And it's sort of Mega Man, definitely not Mega Man X though. Next we've got Mega Man or Rockman 8. This is basically just a ROM hack of the real Mega Man Game Boy games, but worse. It doesn't really have anything to do with Mega Man 8. They just threw this together real quick and slapped that title on because it was the latest game in the series at the time. And for the last of the Mega Man games, we have Rockman X4. And you know what? It's just Mega Man 8 again. Now with butt ugly color. Wow, those Mega Man games sure did suck. Can't wait to see what kind of pain and agony these Sonic the Hedgehog Demakes put me through. Sonic 3D Blast 5. Don't know what happened in 2 through 4. Oh, would you look at that? It's even less 3D than the real Sonic 3D Blast, and it's even less of a blast too. Don't even waste your time with this one. Sonic 6. Sonic games that end with the number 6 don't have a good track record, so I'm not looking forward to this one. Huh. It's actually not that bad. Probably because it's literally just a hack of an existing game. It's just Speedy Gonzales on the Game Boy, but with Sonic instead. Well, thank God I got through those Sonic games. And now I have to talk about fighting games. Oh boy. First up, we got Street Heroes. This is actually a demake of an unlicensed Street Fighter 2 ripoff on the Famicom. It's not very good, and considering Street Fighter 2 already had an official bad demake on the Game Boy, this game just seems even less impressive. And here's E-Fighter Hot. According to the Bootleg Games wiki, this game is loosely based on SNK vs. Capcom, the match of the millennium. This one isn't that bad, but I still don't know why you'd ever really want to play it. Next, we have another Capcom vs. SNK port with Capcom vs. SNK Millennium Fight 2001. That is quite a title. This one is more similar to Street Heroes, and I wouldn't really recommend this either. If you really had to play an SNK vs. Capcom game on the Game Boy and ask me which one to get, I'd first think you were insane, but I'd probably recommend E-Fighter Hot over this one, even though I have no clue what E-Fighter Hot is supposed to actually mean. We've also got Garou, Mark of the Wolves, which I've never played the real one, but it's pretty similar to E-Fighter Hot. And finally, we have the King of Fighters games, King of Fighters 97 and King of Fighters 98. There were already King of Fighters games on the Game Boy, so there's no reason to care about these. Now I'm going to talk about anime games. Why do I put myself through this stuff? So as I've said before, I'm not an anime guy. When it comes to Dragon and Balls, I'm not the guy to talk to. That being said, here are some Dragon Ball games. Dragon Ball Final Bout and Dragon Ball Z Fighting 2005. One is a remake of the PlayStation game, and the other is a remake of a Super Nintendo game. Final Bout was actually also released on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, which is pretty odd considering the Super Nintendo isn't really known for having many bootleg games on it. That was actually it for the anime games. That wasn't as bad as I expected. Now I've got to show you Chinese Tycoon. I have no idea what's going on in this game. Apparently it's a port of a Chinese PC game. I don't speak Chinese though. Also the ROM isn't dumped for some reason, so I can't really play it. I'm just stuck looking at pictures of it. So I'm going to the next game now. And that next game is Metal Gear Solid 2. This one's an interesting one. It's more of a beat 'em up based on the first Metal Gear Solid, but pretty loosely. Unfortunately, this seems to be another one where the ROM just isn't online, or if it was, I couldn't find it anywhere. But there is at least a full gameplay video of the entire game, the entire 5-hour game, which just seems insane to play this for 5 hours. But you can go watch it if you want, I'll link it in the description. Now we've got Crash Bandicoot in 2003 Crash Advance 2, The Huge Adventure, or as it's often called, Crash 2 Advance. I prefer the 2003 Crash Advance 2, The Huge Adventure title, but this one is based on Crash Bandicoot, The Huge Adventure for the Game Boy Advance, but overall it's a mostly original game. It's fine. I would never choose to play it. There was at least some amount of effort that went into making it close to a Crash Bandicoot side-scroller. Next, we have Metal Slug 2001. This is actually pretty solid. It's kinda clunky, but honestly it might be the closest we've seen to a real demake today. Most of the game is based on Metal Slug First Mission, and it honestly plays like you would expect a Metal Slug game to play on the Game Boy. So, BBD, who apparently made this game, good job. You get a gold star for effort. There's another Metal Slug demake though, Metal Slug X, and we're back to the bull. Bruh. Compared to Metal Slug 2001, this one is just disappointing. The colors are pretty off, the music is really off, and you roll around as a ball, like in Metroid. Overall, it's just pretty wonky and way less impressive than Metal Slug 2001. We're almost at the end now. Final Fantasy VII on the NES was a pretty neat little oddity that we looked at last time, so this time we're looking at Final Fantasy X on the Game Boy Color. This game is also subtitled Fantasy War for some reason. And it looks vaguely like a Final Fantasy game, but looks nothing like Final Fantasy X. Disappointing, yet again. And now we have finally reached The Lion King 3 2003 Adventure. Once again, the title is just insane. This one is sort of based on the Super Nintendo Lion King game, and you can tell, but it's still just not very good and sort of disappointing. Well, that was rough. I was really hoping to find some interesting demakes on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, but nearly all of them just let me down. I guess I'll just have to take a look at some absurd fan-made demakes that actually exist and won't let me down nearly as much as the terrible bootleg ones. One of the most iconic Game Boy demakes is Super Smash Land. The only problem is that this just looks like a Game Boy game. This isn't actually made for Game Boy hardware, so it unfortunately could never run on a Game Boy for real. But there are many real demakes. Like Among Us. Ever want to play Among Us on the Game Boy? Because now you can. They're telling me red is sus, but everybody is just gray. I have no clue who to vote out. I also just cannot believe this is real, and I cannot believe I'm also playing it. Where did my life go wrong? There's also a pretty cool prototype of the original Zelda on the Game Boy. As of right now, you can walk around, but there's not much to do in the world. I'm not sure if the developer really plans on continuing, but it would be really cool if he did. And of course, Super Mario World, as I mentioned in the intro. What I didn't mention in the intro is that I actually made this one. I made it on the GB Studio engine, which is how Among Us and Zelda were made too, and it's honestly a really cool Game Boy engine, and it's super simple to use. I'd highly recommend it to any Game Boy fans, even if you don't intend on really releasing anything. It's just fun to mess around with. I will warn you though, at the time of me making this video, the page for Super Mario World on the Game Boy only has one playable stage, and the first world will be out in the next few days. I'm just working on Iggy's Castle now, then I'll probably release the whole thing as a prototype and maybe I'll finish it someday, but maybe I won't. And although it's missing a ton of features and levels from the real Mario World and even the NES version, I'd say it has one massive plus over the NES bootleg. The physics actually work. It plays so much smoother and looks much better in some cases, but you end up sacrificing stuff like power-ups and smooth screen scrolling. Someday I hope to add them if I can, but right now the engine's pretty limited and I just don't know much about making Game Boy games. So for now, it doesn't exist, but later on, if I ever continue, hopefully it'll be better in the future. I would definitely like to talk about this game more once the full prototype comes out, so stay tuned for that eventually. But now that's it for the fan games. But I do have one more bootleg that I wanted to mention. To be totally honest here, I'm not sure how this will go over with YouTube, so I saved it for last. This might be the most bizarre bootleg game I've ever seen. It's also the most offensive bootleg game I've ever seen. Now I'm warning you, before I show you, this game is genuinely pretty shocking and disturbing, so here it is. It's just another Metal Slug port. But for some strange reason, it's now called Terrifying 9/11. It's also now all about gunning down terrorists in the Middle East after 9/11, and includes full motion video cutscenes of the planes crashing into the Twin Towers on 9/11. I do sort of want to make a full video about this game, but I feel like that might be in bad taste. So next week, you'll either get a video about a game based on the worst terrorist attack in American history, or a video about Super Mario World on the Game Boy. You'll just have to wait to find out.